Guys, it's almost 30 years since I launched my career in the music industry, releasing my first ever record. I can't even remember what it was now, it's so long ago. Shows how old I'm getting. Anyway, I thought, as I've done so many radio interviews over the years, literally probably hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, possibly even thousands, right around the world, from Russia, UK, America, Canada, God, everywhere. Australia, I just remembered that there as well. But anyway, I thought I'd feature this interview, really enjoyed this, on Go Rainbow Radio back in 2009. I just discovered it today, and I thought, wow, actually I think, do you know what, it'd be fun to release some of these, or re-release some of these radio interviews that I've done over the years. So this is the Go Rainbow Radio interview. I was on this station quite a few times actually, and this was recorded in 2009, probably at the peak of my music career actually, when I had the hit single out, Some Forgive. Guys, I hope you enjoy this, and if you do, please leave some comments down below, give it a thumbs up and all that kind of stuff. I'd really appreciate it.
Well, hello there, and welcome to episode number 177 of GoRainbowRadio.com. I am your host, Tim Cormall, once again coming to you from the fabulous neighborhood of Logan Circle here in Washington, D.C. And Go Rainbow Radio is sponsored by Cap Records. Be sure to check out my sponsor over at caprecords.com. You can also check out their internet dance radio station over at idanceradio.fm. And Go Rainbow Radio is also sponsored by T-Best Talent Agency, bringing you all the best dance divas. You can check them out over at t-bestttalentagency.com. Well, everyone, this is your show for Sunday, October 25th, 2009, as we're coming up on the week of Halloween. Hope you have a great Halloween weekend. And my guest on the show this week is Gaz Reynolds. He was formerly with us on episode 113 of Go Rainbow Radio. He's here to tell us about what's going on with his music and his labels. But first, we're going to hear Some Forgive, the Starlet DJ's dance mix, and Gaz will be joining us right after this.
Some forgive, but I can never forget. Some forgive, but I can never regret. Some forgive, but I can never forget. Take my love, but only with regrets. something forever. You and me together in heaven. XEX is your first name and it's your last. I know all about your dirty past. Never forget. Some forget, but I can never regret. Some forget, but I can never forget. Take my love, but only with regrets.
And that was Some Forgive, the Starlet DJ Dance remix by Gaz Reynolds, and I'm joined back with Gaz. How you doing, Gaz?
I'm good, Tim. Thanks very much for having me back, and how are you?
I'm great. It's great to have you back on the show. This is the third time.
I know. You must be getting sick of me.
Always glad to have you back. Always glad.
Oh,
You last
thank you.
were on episode 113, and I think you were originally on one of the early shows.
I was. I think it's going back in 2007.
Yeah, I think I don't remember the episode number, like 38 or something off the top of my head. But anyway, it's great to have you back.
And it's great to be back. And doesn't time fly?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe I've been doing this show for going on 3.5 years. And,
that's certainly a long time.
Yeah. So Gaz, welcome back. Welcome back. Tell us, for the listeners who may not have heard your earlier interviews, tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm Gaz Reynolds, as you just said. I'm an independent artist, and I've had quite a few records out. I started off on a label that I set up on my own, and it was purely just for my music, which is World Domination Records. Most people have Americanized it and called it WDR, so we've kind of gone along with that. But now it's sort of grown into a worldwide phenomenon, and we've got lots of different artists from all around the world. So what started off as a platform for myself to release my own records has actually gone on to putting other artists out with material all around the world. We've got a worldwide distribution deal, so we're pretty well covered out in the States, mainly digital, but that's the way everyone's buying music now.
It's true.
It's true, yeah. iTunes, we've got HMV, eMusic, so all the biggies really. And we're doing good. Despite a recession, people still want to listen to music.
That's great. That's great. Well, now I noticed that you had the Starlet DJ's dance mix on the Some Forgive, and that would be our good buddy Pete over there in the UK as well.
That's right, yeah.
You guys been working together a lot?
Well, we did. Pete did a couple of remixes of a couple of tracks of mine. There was Electric Kama Sutra, which I think you played on a previous show some time back. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. And it was quite a big club hit here. And
and then initially it got banned from radio in the States, but it sort of built up a vibe and started hitting quite a few radio stations out in the States, and then it spread out over Europe, and so I was quite surprised what happened with the record, really.
Well, what happened with that? It got banned on the radio in the States.
Well, it's a bit of a long story, really, and we're going back a few years back here, so I'll have to try and dust out some of the cobwebs and remember everything. But basically, I had a radio promoter out in West Hollywood called Harry Rosen, and I started sending him some of my earlier tracks, and there was one particular track that he really liked, which was In This House, which he played on a previous show, and he started pushing that track, and so we had quite a big radio hit out in the States, which then spread over to Europe, and then I followed it up with something a little bit different, which was Electric Kama Sutra, which I knew wasn't going to be as palatable, particularly for the American market. With a title like that, probably in the UK even, it probably would have made a few eyebrows raise. But I think there was a big push at the time, and commercial hit radio started picking the track up. We did have a lot of different types of mixes, so it probably helped having the different types of mixes, and that is very much the fashion these days, is to have radio edits, and you'll have a club mix, a dance mix, and something else mix, and an electro mix, and so you're trying to appeal to as many markets as possible. So I think it just came off the back of In This House, and so it kind of kicked off, and we did okay with it. But it's still knocking around now, even some of the clubs, and quite often I Google myself because I'm quite vain, and I see it's on playlists on various shows, and of course the internet's a huge way of promoting music these days, and so you get a lot of podcast shows and online radio stations that tend to spin the track as well.
That's great. That's great. Now, did you mentioned that it got blocked from the U.S. radio stations? Is that because of the lyrics, or? Yeah.
What happened is from the radio promoter, we actually went to Radio and Records. I can't remember where they're based now, but they had their own online radio station, which they used to push out to CHR in America, so it's commercial hit radio in America. And initially it was, no, we're not touching that, no way, no way. They were all kind of sitting on the fence, and a few commercial hit radio stations did actually eventually start to pick it up, and then it started to go from there.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, it was interesting, and it actually got on playlists with Eminem and Madonna, and there's still stuff on Google all about it. So,
well, that's cool that it recovered. So,
yeah, definitely,
most definitely. So, what have you been up to since you were on the show a year ago?
Well, I've been kind of behind the scenes, focusing on the label really, and so that's taken up an awful lot of my time because of the array of artists. So I kind of went into the background and was working more on the business side of it and focusing on trying to build the label up. But I always missed actually writing and recording myself and putting records out. And so I've just started to come back to that now, and I'm actually working on a new album at the moment.
Okay. So, what's the name of the album?
It's going to be called Ultra, and it should be out at some point in 2010, but I haven't got an exact date yet because I'm still working on tracks. Great.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck with that.
Thank you. Of course, it will be dance-orientated, but I'm going to try and change my sound a little bit as well, make it very 2010.
Cool. Well, tell us what artists you have now on World Domination Records. Who are you working with?
Well, we've got quite a few. We've got a few we haven't announced yet. We're keeping them secret at the moment. Artists tend to be a little bit shy about their projects until they're finished. But Hyperforce has just released a new dance EP, which has been doing very well. And I know you had him on a show of yours, I think last year at some point. So he's doing very well at the moment. We've got, I think I had Isaac Angel on some time back with promoting Dark Lady. I don't know if you've seen the videos for that, but that ended up hitting a few TV networks around the world, and we got it onto a few DVD compilations, particularly out in the States and Canada. So that did quite well. And we actually had a hit in Turkey with that as well. So wasn't even aware that anyone was listening out in Turkey, but
well,
I think it went top 10 out there. So that was good. So there's been an awful lot of things going on. We had a few new European dance artists come onto the label, and they're still working on projects. So they've released a single or an EP, but they're now working on albums. So best place to keep an eye on everything is just go to the World Domination Records website, which is www.worlddominationrecords.com.
All right, cool.
And you can keep up to date there.
Now tell us about any music videos that you've been working on lately.
Okay. Well, again, there will be some new videos out next year to coincide with the album Ultra. And we're still kind of throwing some ideas around at the moment. So there's a lot of my old videos on YouTube kicking around still, and I found them on quite a few other online sources. Sometimes I look at some of them and I kind of cringe now. But I did enjoy making them at the time, but they're definitely going to be much higher production quality and you know, some really original ideas. We used to kind of just come up with a basic idea and then go off to, well, when we shot Some Forgive, we went out to Russia for, I think, 10 days and shot the video, and there wasn't any real plan for it. We just kind of threw it all together. So, and then Thinking of You, which was another video we shot, that was shot out in India, and again, all thrown together. It was kind of, had a basic storyline, and then it all came together in the editing. So, as I said, I sort of look at these things now and go, "Ooh, I can do a lot better than that now." So, and of course, technology has all moved on since then as well.
All right. Well, you'll have to come back and join us when you get the new album released.
I will do, and thank you for the invite.
And with that, why don't we play I Don't Care, the Dance 69 extended mix? You want to tell us anything about that?
Yeah, I think on a previous show you played the PSB Hard Trance mix. This is actually the extended mix. This actually went to #1 in Australia a couple of years back. So it's always been a particular favourite of mine, and it's actually about somebody from my past. And I won't reveal any more than that, but I hope your listeners enjoy the track. But this is the extended dance mix.
All right, so this is I Don't Care, the Dance 69 extended mix, and Gaz and I will be back with you right after this.
You had just one thing on your mind. You wanted me for your bed. How could I have been so blind? Don't come to my house. You've got the blood in your veins. Don't come to my house. Don't want to see you here again. Your burning heart goes out to me.
And that was I Don't Care, the Dance 69 extended remix by Gaz Reynolds, and Gaz is back with us. Welcome back, Gaz.
Oh, thank you for having me back. It's really good to hear that track again, actually. It's always been a favourite of mine.
Wow, yeah, and it's impressive that you that it went #1 in Australia.
I know. I was surprised myself when that happened.
Tell us what that was like when it happened.
It was very exciting because I was actually out in Australia at the time doing some promotion, and I was on, I don't know if you've heard of Kiss FM. It's a big commercial hit radio station in the UK, but they've got a Kiss FM out in Australia, which is now very up and coming as a station. And I was very, very fortunate to be invited along for a live interview on Kiss FM out in Oz. And it all kind of spun off from there because they were spinning the track, and the clubs picked it up. I was very heavily involved with the club scene whilst I was out there in Melbourne. And then I went on to, you've probably heard of Dancing with the Stars in the US. It's called Strictly Come Dancing here. Well, they've got the Australian version out there, which is Dancing with the Stars, and I was invited to come on the show. I wasn't dancing, I might add. I was kind of a guest on the show, and so had a chance to plug it there. Nothing actually happened further whilst I was in Australia. It kind of all happened 2 weeks later when I came back to the UK. So yes, it was a nice feeling.
Well, maybe it was when the episode of Dancing with the Stars actually aired.
Yeah, I think there was also a whole load of other things going on at the time, and sometimes you'll record a show, and then it might come out a week or 2 or 3 weeks later. So then you have a knock-on effect, maybe a week or 2 weeks after that. So it's but it was a really good thing. And sometimes something will happen with one of my records, which I haven't even necessarily really pushed, because I've had a couple of records out which I didn't really push really hard, and strangely enough, things have happened with those records as well. And there's always things going on anyway, particularly now with the whole online music market. We've just signed a deal with MySpace Music, so all of the WDR releases are now being featured on the front page of MySpace Music, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, that just kicked in a few weeks ago, so that was another plus for us as well.
Is it doing that worldwide or just in the UK? Or
no, it's worldwide as I
that's
understand
excellent.
it. Yeah.
That is excellent.
It just started a few weeks ago, and we've had a lot of because now the supermarkets in the UK are jumping in on the bandwagon. I think you've got Tesco's out in America now. It's our #1 supermarket here. But all the supermarkets are now jumping on the bandwagon for the music download market as well. So we've just had Tesco, there's a couple of other major supermarket chain stores here that have just launched major music services. I mean, they still won't be able to compete against, iTunes, but they've just started releasing all of our WDR catalogue, and that includes all of my records as well. So that's been quite exciting. That's just happened in the past couple of weeks. That's
excellent. Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you. And that actually brings me to one of the new WDR releases, which one of my tracks is on that compilation as well. We've got a new compilation out now called WDR Dance Beats Volume 2. The first one was very successful, and we've just followed it up 2 years on with Volume 2. And it's available on iTunes and all the major digital outlets.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is where can people go to buy your music? So,
you can go to iTunes. I think I've got 3 or 4 pages there. You can also go onto the World Domination Records website, and we've got a online store there which actually lists most of the major digital outlets. In the UK, we've got HMV, and we've got HMV Digital as well. We've also got HMV out in Japan and Australia as well, that are selling most of our products. So obviously my records are there as well. eMusic, 7 Digital, pretty much any major outlet you can think of.
Excellent. Well, I'll put some links in the show notes for that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Now, are those links actually buying in British pounds or US dollars, or is there an option to switch back and forth?
Most of them offer. Most of those stores now offer, a currency option. I know most of my releases are available on iTunes on most of the stores. I think about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was told that now Mexico's selling my downloads as well on iTunes. So there, you go into the individual stores, because I think a lot of people don't realise that iTunes has actually got individual stores in individual countries.
Right, exactly.
And they're still obviously launching in other countries as well. So that's just a huge thing in itself.
Now, you mentioned that you've been working in the studio a lot. So I take it you haven't been traveling much with the show? Or doing a tour or anything?
No, I haven't been in any tours or anything recently, because I think, as I mentioned earlier, I've been more behind the scenes with the label, just because there's so much work involved with that, and particularly having a large amount of artists. They've got all their needs as well. So I had to kind of take a back step on my own music, but then I was missing that, and now I'm coming back into that, so that's why I've gone back into the studio and started writing and recording some new tracks, which should be out at some point in 2010.
All right, cool. Well, and also you mentioned earlier that you're working on, this was before we were recording, that you're working on 2 new labels. Why don't you tell us about that?
That's right. Well, we're actually launching 2 new labels in the new year, off the back of World Domination Records. As I mentioned, World Domination Records, most of our die-hard followers refer to World Domination Records, including myself, as WDR. So we've got 2 new labels launching in 2010, which is WDR London and WDR Digital.
Oh, cool.
If you keep an eye on the World Domination Records website, there will be announcements as to what's going to actually be going on with those labels. So it's quite an exciting time, and that's where a lot of my time's been focused as well.
That's great. I wish you all the best of luck with those 2 new labels.
Well, thank you, Tim.
Now, what are your long-term career aspirations? What is it then, say, like 5 years from now, where do you want to be?
Well, I think I'll always be involved in music in some way or another. I can't really say that I'll be recording records until I'm 372. But I think I'll always be involved in music in some way. I think a lot of people don't realise, though, that there's an awful lot of time and effort involved in actually writing and recording. And so sometimes when an artist disappears for, say, 2 or 3 years, sometimes, it doesn't mean that they've given up or they've lost popularity or whatever. It may well be that they've gone off to do something else for a little while because they needed to have a break from that, or maybe they've taken time out to actually just focus on recording and writing. And as I said, I've just started coming back into that now. So long term, I think I want to really be developing the labels, really pushing into those markets, because, I mean, we never really thought MySpace would get as big as what it has, but it has. It's really still one of the big places to promote music.
It's very true. It's very true. And MySpace seems to be really more catering toward musicians now, too. So
yeah, I mean, it started off as a social networking site. In fact, when I came across MySpace, it was more like an international dating site. That's the impression I got. But now it seems to be very much geared towards music, and everyone that's not into necessarily the music side of it and wants to be more involved in social networking seems to be going over to Twitter and Facebook. But then I've noticed that all the music stuff seems to be moving over to there as well. So, but it's just, there's a world of opportunities out there for pushing music. So I think very much I'll still be involved with music probably until I'm, pretty much at death's door. But as I said, I don't think I'll be recording records when I'm in my nursing home.
No, but you'll probably still be running the labels, right?
Well, probably, yeah.
So now tell us, do you have any shout-outs for anyone that you wanted to mention over the course of your career?
Well, I think really it's always a bit tricky when you're kind of thinking about who do I say thank you to and who do I say hi to. But I think I'll just do a general one today and just say thank you to all of your listeners for obviously tuning in and putting up with my boring music. And really everybody that's supported me over the years. It's it's always a nice feeling to know that people are actually buying your records and still interested, and that always gives me a great buzz. So it's just a big thank you to everyone that's doing that, and keep buying them.
Excellent. Well, thank you again,
and
Gaz.
a big thank you to you for having me on the show.
Oh, no problem. Glad to have you back on. Hope to have you on again sometime next year.
Oh, good. Thank
You're
you.
always welcome to come back. So
Thank you.
thank you so much for coming on the show, Gaz.
Okay, well, it's been great coming back, and as I said, if any of your listeners want to check out the World Domination Records website, just head over to www.worlddominationrecords.com, and also if you want to purchase any of my records, just head over to iTunes, check out Gaz Reynolds, obviously all the major outlets.
And what's your MySpace page and other websites?
You can find me at myspace.com/GazWorld. I think that's it.
Gazworld?
Yeah. But you'll probably put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I will, definitely.
Yeah, okay, so, and we've got a World Domination Records YouTube page. I can't remember the URL off the top of my head, but if you just type in either WD Records or World Domination Records, you should get the listing come up.
All right, cool. I will put some links, like I said, in the show notes for that. Thank you so much, Gaz.
Okay, great, and thanks ever so much, Tim, for having me back.
No problem. Like I say, you're always welcome. This is episode 177 of Go Rainbow Radio for Sunday, October 25th. You can check us out over at GoRainbowRadio.com if you're listening to this through one of the internet streaming websites that carries it, or through idanceradio.fm, or through iTunes, or whatever, all the various ways you can listen to the show. You can check us out, like I say, over at GoRainbowRadio.com. You can call the listener line 202-657-4277. The website has all the links for the social media outlets like Twitter and MySpace and Facebook and all that stuff, where you can play with us on the web. So, Gaz, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Tim.
And we're going to close out with your song, Thinking of You. Do you want to tell us anything about that before we play it?
Yeah, well, it was a track that was written for the Orgasmic album, which was the singles collection that came out a couple of years back. And it has had airplay, but I just thought I would send it over to you and see what your listeners think, because it hasn't been played on your show before. So, yeah, Thinking of You, I've always enjoyed this song. It's very Euro energy, this mix, but I think your listeners will enjoy it, so hopefully they do. And I'll hand over to you, Tim.
All right, so this is Thinking of You, and as Gaz said, he would love your feedback, so you can go on over to GoRainbowRadio.com, click on this episode, and leave us a comment on what you think of Thinking of You. So thanks again, Gaz.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tim,
So
and thanks to all the listeners.
Thank you. Again, this is Thinking of You by Gaz Reynolds, and we will be back with you next time.
GoRainbowRadio.com, sponsored by Cap Records, a division of Cap Company.